It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Liteforex social trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Good afternoon, 13th of June 2019. It's at 2 p.m. CET, meaning it's a New York Open and we are going to cover it live. It's good that it's not Friday, it's 13th, but it's not Friday, right? That's good stuff. Piotr here, and this is Liteforex global YouTube channel. Few interesting things are going on currently. We are going to try to discuss all of them. Nothing extraordinary in relation to the calendar. So depends on how interesting market will be after US cash open. We might, same way as yesterday, we might have a shorter meeting. But anyway, just a friendly reminder, tomorrow 8 a.m. CET, pre-London live market coverage, and it's not something usual, but tomorrow, Friday, we are going to have another afternoon meeting. We are going to cover live US retail sales. All right, before we start, let's go through the risk warning. Guys, please bear in mind, trading effects on margin, trading crypto on margin carries a high level of risk, may not be suitable for investors. You can sustain a loss of some or all initial investment, so please do not invest the money that you cannot afford to lose. Seek education, gain experience before risking real money. However, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. All right, so we are done here. Pound is getting stronger here after the New York Open. We are going to discuss this stuff, as well as the Swiss franc. As you can see, based on what we discussed this morning, I'm sitting long Swiss franc, and I'm ready to add, and I will explain what I would like to see to be ready to simply to add into current long position. All right. Nothing extraordinary when we are talking about the euro dollar. All right. Nothing extraordinary in dollar yen. Euro pound. To be honest with you, I missed that spike to the upside this morning. We were discussing that I'm going to look to sell euro pound, right? Since few days we are talking about this stuff. But okay, it happens sometimes, right? Simply I just missed the trade, but I'm watching very carefully pound Swiss franc. That's another thing we discussed this morning. And from the intraday perspective, we just before the New York Open, we hit possible demand. We are going higher. I'm not in. I would like to see something closer towards 25.50. From the daily perspective, that's what we are going to discuss, and you can find in the description. From the higher time frame, 125, 124. That's from the medium term perspective, quite nice zone. Now we have few positives going on the oil, and so rising oil here, right, followed by rising stocks indices. Now in relation to the crude, we are going to discuss it. there are a few things related to the oil, right? I'm sorry. There are plenty of things going on Reuters, Bloomberg, and others. So just to have a few for you to know, we also have OPEC monthly oil report. So let's try to go through the one right now. It's a quite new information. 3 hours ago, that was one of the main reasons we started to see higher oil prices. Right, and in case of the OPEC meeting, where I have it, yeah, in case of the OPEC meeting, OPEC says that the trade tensions are hurting global oil demand. All right, just 1 second. That's the one thing. Next is that OPEC cuts 2019 global oil demand growth forecast to 1.14 million barrel per day. Previously it was 1.21. And you've got this information in the chat window as well. What else inside the OPEC monthly report? For H2, significant downside risk remain from trade disputes spilling over to global demand growth. And OPEC sees 2019 demand for its crude averaging 30.52 million barrels per day, down 60,000 from the previous forecast. More or less, when we are talking about the OPEC monthly report, that more or less that's it. So this time we are going to start with oil, all right, and let's have a look where we are from the higher time frame. Okay, let's start with weekly chart. And we are going to go through the higher time frames today, because slowly but surely we are approaching end of the second quarter, right? 2 weeks left. And as I mentioned this morning, it's going to be quite busy. I do expect some volatility towards the end of the second quarter, right? So what is going on here? We were discussing oil and bearish sentiment based on the daily chart, but let's have a look here for a second. Let me clean few things based on the daily chart. So we are going to have a clean weekly chart. I'm sorry for it. Just a moment. Of course, it's Thursday, so it's plenty of time towards end of the week. It's like two whole New York sessions, right? Everything can happen here. Okay, so that's what we have here on the weekly chart on the oil. And from the bullish perspective, right, those two lower shadows, right, one can argue that we took out some kind of the demand, right? The truth is that the rise over here on weekly didn't hurt sellers, right? So this demand over here, let me put it from the weekly, this is something one can call demand zone over here, right? It's not really demand zone. Why? Because we did not hurt any sellers. So in that case, if you were watching our first webinar where I provided basic stuff related to the possible supply and demand, you know what I'm talking about here from the weekly perspective. Of course, different time frames, different views, different interests, right? But here nothing has happened. So let's assume it's not so important what happened here. So I wouldn't say it's a stop hunt. What is important, in my opinion, here, why we have these two lower shadows over here, it's because of this weakness, latest weakness we've seen towards the end of 2018. Right? This weakness seen here. Let me draw correct possible demand zone. That's the possible demand zone. And we've seen bulls stepped in right in the middle of this possible demand. Right in the middle of this possible demand. All right? That's why, because we spoke a few times about the possibility of shorts, but higher towards 56.70, right? Here, clearly visible. Now depends where we are going to end tomorrow, right? Depends where we are going to see last tick tomorrow. We are going to discuss oil from a higher time frame perspective next week, okay? Just two hints. If we are going to finish like this, there are plenty of buyers based on the lower shadow, but we finish like this, I would say that these two lows, this week and previous week lows, right? That's invitation for sellers to hit more stops if we are going to finish like this. What we need? We need, to be honest with you, we need to move and close, in my opinion only, we need move and close above 57.20, 57.60 towards the end of the week. Let's switch to daily. 56.70 gonna be crucial. So I think the whole fight may take place around this 57.60, 56.70, 57.60. Now, why? Let me show you. If we can agree that we have some kind of the equal bottom, some kind of the bottom formation over here, so if we are going to break higher, right, the minimum move is a double of the original range. That's how we usually approaching the market. Okay. So in that case, we might hit something towards 57.60, as you can see, on the way. So the whole supply I expect is somewhere here. Maybe a little bit higher. That's what we have, the latest demand, which was broken over here. Right? So I do expect eventually, depends what is going to happen here. Because as well we can end up much lower, right? But for now, looks like it's an outside day creation. So watch out, bulls trying to push the prices even higher. Based on what we've seen here, the whole move to the downside, right? I do expect there are some shorts, and the weak shorts are gonna to be squeezed, in my opinion. Okay. So in that case, let's have a look what we have, because in my opinion, New York price action for oil traders, for crude traders, is going to be crucial, right? It's going to be crucial. Now, where we are. Okay, let's input from the intraday perspective. Let's input the old intraday levels. Now, the green one, we know that it's a possible demand based on daily chart, right? That's what we discussed many times. Now, at some point on the 5th of June, there was some kind of the market manipulation, because the zone from daily chart is so wide. That's what we also discussed last Tuesday during the introduction to the basic supply and demand stuff, right? Because it's quite wide. So from daily, wide demand zone. From intraday perspective, there was a possible manipulation when we saw the supply towards the bottom of this demand and really off that level, right? After the break higher, retest, attempt to go higher, and unfortunately risk of sentiment, and we were falling for the whole week. Okay, now we are trying to escape again. Just a reminder where we are still sitting inside the big possible demand zone based on the daily, right? So once we are going to here during the New York session, if we are going to go above, let's say 53.50, that might be the case that the weakest shorts are going to start to cover. They are gonna be forced to cover. That might push prices even higher. All right, that's how I see. So as long as this green box, possible demand from daily, as we are at the end of the day, as we are above, I do expect a little bit more upside from here towards 56.70, 57.70. All right. So here we covered in details oil market, okay, based on what was going on during the London session. So we are all aware what is going on here, okay. Okay, so oil is done. So that's one of the reasons we see the indices followed the price action on oil. Let's have a look what we have on the agenda right now. At 2:30 we are going to have the US import prices month to month, and we are going to get the weekly jobless claims, okay. Then for the rest part of the first part US session, nothing extraordinary. Don't forget, after the lunch at 7 p.m. CET, we are going to get the 30-year bond auction results, okay. And yesterday dollar was stronger after we got the information about the 10-year bond auction, right? So I'm not gonna be surprised if we will try to continue, especially on euro dollar and dollar yen at some point, right? Because that's two heaviest pair inside the dollar basket, okay. So let's, before we will go through the particular currency pair, let's have a look what is going on inside the dollar basket. And there you go. So we are here on a daily chart, right? So we have some trend line. We were discussing this trend line from the higher, from the a little bit longer term perspective. So what we had last week, it was attempt to break it lower. Thanks to few positives, we gapped up at Monday open. All right. Then Tuesday there was attempt to retest the low. Yesterday we hit the stops. We hit the stops based on this week low, and the same day after we hit the stops based on this week low, as you can see, we had an outside day on the dollar index. Wow. Wow. That's nice. Now it's a little bit more complicated, all right? I'm sorry for it. It's a little bit more complicated. What I mean by that? Let's discuss bullish chances. Where we are and what we can have. So the good thing is really that we had this outside day yesterday. That's really positive thing, right? That's showing that even with the FOMC coming next week with the rate decision and the Powell statement, there were some dollar buyers, and of course the bullish activity was based partially on this rising trend line. That's the one thing, but there are two big buts, all right? Friday range, that's the first thing, and we are still inside the Friday range, right? And the top of that Friday range is also equal to the open from the 5th of June, and once we broke through the low of this 5th of June and we close below, the opening level over here 97.12 and the high of that day 97.37, that's the possible supply, and for now we even didn't hit, and the top of that last Friday range is also included into that supply. All right, so I do expect some bullish activity here, at least towards 97.11, 97.30. That's what we discussed previously, right? But I think that that's the zone where the whole battle will take place. That's so crucial zone, in my opinion, ahead of the FOMC, all right? Because once we are going to start to test that zone, all right, meaning that the heaviest euro dollar inside the dollar basket is going to test pre non-farm payrolls levels around 1260, 1250. Okay, that's incredibly important in my opinion. So the bulls have to, it's not kinda, oh, I will try, maybe that's gonna be good. No, bulls have to close above not only on a daily. So it's not gonna be enough if we are going to close today above these levels. We have to have last tick tomorrow above 97.3540. Okay. We have to have it tomorrow. On the other hand, even with these positive developments over last 3 days, from the very beginning of this week, bulls are not in a quite good position yet. Now, from the bear side, it's just enough to hold price below 97.40. So bears, they don't have to be so active here. It's enough if they will start to be active around 97.3040 at the top of this supply. For bulls, they have to be very active here. Bears, not necessary. So that's the difference from the higher time frame perspective, all right? Of course, it looks good, but more is needed from the dollar bulls perspective for now. And we are discussing based on the euro dollar. Don't get me wrong, all right? We correctly described the top after the non-farm payrolls. We correctly describe it, but I pointed out what is needed. We have to get back and close below pre-non-farm payrolls low. Okay, train outside. I'm sorry for this noise, but it's so hot, so I have to have all the windows open. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's get back to particular currency pairs. Okay, pound is rising. And pound is rising most probably based on the first vote outcome. Yeah, that's the result of the first bailout. Boris Johnson 114, and then the next one has 70 votes less. 70, not 17, sorry. So that's one of the reasons probably here for the pound. And that's not good from this pound Swiss franc, both intraday and medium term perspective trade ideas, because I wasn't able to jump in based on what we have here. I would prefer middle of that range, if not bottom, right? Closer towards 25.50, okay? But it looks a little bit better from the daily chart perspective, okay? Still, because what we discussed a second ago, it was intraday reaction, but here, at some point, if we see some kind of the weakness on the pound, especially if market will try to take out 15th of January low, in that case we are talking about the 25.26, right? I like from the daily perspective, just let me again remove few lines. Okay, what I like from the sorry. Is this over under possible below 25 towards 24.50, 24, right? So it might happen, for example, if the sentiment will worsens, that we are going to see a little bit more Swiss franc demand, all right? So I do expect that eventually that we may try to hunt some more stops. So from higher time frame perspective, I'd like to see this stop count hitting 25, 24.50, and eventually to see the higher prices, right? That's what might happen. Trying to trade out this over under we have here. Okay, so that's how I see the things from the higher time frame perspective on the pound Swiss franc. All right. Okay, dollar Swiss franc. We are going to cover it during the second part of the our meeting. First thing first, let's have a look what we get in terms of US data. Import prices weaker a bit. And initial jobless claims weaker a bit. Okay, but if you do remember market reaction yesterday after the CPI, I'm not going to be surprised to see lower levels on euro dollar, and especially here again, going back to what we discussed, still we are trying to hold the bottom of this channel, right? And we are trying even describe that towards tomorrow Tokyo session we might see 1320, 1340 based on what we've seen till now, and eventually the end of the week is gonna be important. But I'm not gonna be surprised if we are going to go straight, hit the stops, and test pre-non-farm payrolls low over here. We have this demand, and we were discussing this a few times. So let's have a look for the price action for the next few minutes after the US data announcement. And during the second part of our meeting, of course, we are going to monitor the early close, all right? And we are going to check where we are on the Canadian dollar because of oil move, and then we will prepare ourselves for the New York cash open. So we are going to monitor the first 5-minute trading range, right? The same as we are doing every time we have this afternoon meeting. If there are any questions in relation to the first part of today's meeting, that's the very good time to ask right now. Slow market for now, especially FX market is quite slow. In the meantime, when you think about the questions, I recorded Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin crypto preview, especially the comparison of the upcoming Litecoin halving compared to which is coming within next less than 2 months, compared with Bitcoin halving, which is coming May 2020, right? So you are more than welcome to go visit archive section here on Global Liteforex YouTube channel and check my latest crypto market review. Pound is trying to break higher right now. It looks like we took out the stops based on the what we've seen during the Tokyo session. We are trying to get back, but of course that's what I'm trying to point out for some time already. Yearly open in that case 2750ish. That's where we seen pound rejected twice already, right, within the last few days. So that's the key level for pound in my opinion. Similar situation to what we've seen yesterday. After initial reaction to the downside, dollar is gaining ground again. And you know, yesterday it was the top one or top three, I'm sorry, in terms of how important the data might be. We had a CPI, today is import prices and weekly jobless claims, so it's a second tier data. So if dollar was able to gain the ground yesterday after the data, I'm not surprised it's going to gain the ground today. But in that case, if we are going to have this type of the slow market towards the London fix, I would focus on the results of the 30-year bond auction in US at 7 p.m. CET time, having in mind what happened yesterday with the breakdown of 113 on euro dollar. All right, right before the break, I've mentioned that I'm ready to add into Swiss franc, but I would like to see some kind of the price action to the downside with lower shadow. All right, and it hasn't happened yet. All right, bar is open first time today. So water, tea, coffee, whatever you want. Of course, only non-alcoholic drinks. The charts are going to stay with us. I'm going to be back around the top of the hour. Enjoy the break.
It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Liteforex social trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Welcome back. That's the second part of our meeting today. What we are going to cover, we are going to check what is going on early on majors. We are going to have a look ahead of the US Open, what is going on the US indices, right? So let's start with the hourly charts. We do have this kind of the breakdown on euro dollar here, and we are discussing this that might be some kind of the flag creation during the morning meeting. I've been in favor of a little bit different view, right? I've been in favor of this type of the approach, that if that was the fall, right? If that was the fall over here, then we had this type of the consolidation. Then yesterday, another move to the downside. Almost in terms of the how many hours it took, it was almost the same. So today's morning, one of the scenario from the bears perspective, we were discussing, if you remember, we drew these channels over here, and I've been explaining this morning that we hit yesterday evening, we hit the bottom of the channel. Tokyo brought some kind of the correction. There was an attempt to break lower. We hold the Monday low. I thought that we are going at least till tomorrow towards the Tokyo session. We are going to hold this level towards 1330, 1320, 1330, 1340, right? But looks like there is a breakdown here, and the situation has changed. We are approaching the pre-non-farm payrolls levels very fast. We do have, taking into the consideration the price action from the right before the New York Open, so that's and right after the Open, so the last 2 hours, that's the supply creation, accumulation of the shorts, breakdown lower. Now let's have a look what we are going to get in terms of 112.60. So we are talking about this pre-non-farm payrolls levels. Very interesting situation. Of course, in terms of the distances, right, this is still very narrow range on euro dollar, but let's have a look if we can get if we can get the breakdown even lower. In that case, Friday, when we are talking about the euro dollar, Friday might be very interesting. So as we can see, there was an attempt to hold this Monday low, green dotted line. There was a move to the upside, next candle breakdown, so meaning that was the shorts accumulation. I've explained a bit during our first webinar last Tuesday, but I'm going to talk more about this over the course of next and webinar next Tuesday, and another one within 2 weeks from now. But pound, because of how it behaves with dollar, right, I like even more with Swiss franc and with euro. Now, of course, US cash open is gonna be important based on this huge bounce, because we had a two different sessions, right? If we are going to understand, let me show you what I'm talking about. What we have to understand, all right, let's assume that the green box here, all right, the green box here, that's the whole day. Let's assume it's a whole day, all right, the green box here. Now have to change the color. Now we have to understand that we have, for us it's the whole day, right? But we have to understand that we do have 3 different sessions, right? We do have Tokyo session, we do have London session or European session, Tokyo session or Asian session, and we do have New York Open or North America session, right? Now, what might be very useful for you, just don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to tell you that is the way you should watch the charts, but it might be that because of this type of the approach, you are going to get better understanding what may happen, all right? That's very important, because usually we as a retail traders, the approach we have is a 24-hour candle as a day candle, right? But guys, let me explain you more. If we can do it like this, I think it's very important. Some may say no, it's a BS, but I think it's a very important. At least if you do understand these things, right, guys? Overall, we have the international banks, right? Meaning that if there is a Goldman Sachs in New York, so they have the offices in Asia, they have the offices in EU. Let's say there is a, I don't know, HSBC, they have their offices in US as well, and let's get let's get Deutsche Bank as a European bank. I'm not sure how long they will stay alive, but anyway, of course they have the offices in Asia and US. Now, if you haven't seen, there is a great documentary. It's available on YouTube called $1 Billion Day, where BBC was recording 3 traders on different continents, right? One was the Hong Kong based trader, one was the London in Barclays London based trader, and one was the asset manager based on New York, Swiss guy based on New York, right? It's great documentary. To be honest with you, it was like recorded something like 20 years ago. Plenty of these things are still valid. The only thing is that we do have more algos right now than the real people, right? Anyway, what we have to understand that, of course, those international banks, there is a they are giving the advices. Okay, during the Asian session we did this. So watch this, and of course the pure interest is what the headquarter wanna say. That's how I see the things. Now, we also have to understand another thing, that there are guys in Asia and they will only care, maybe different word, they are going to take as a daily candle only what happened during the Asian hours, right? So for them, daily candle is gonna be, let's have a look what we have here. That's gonna be, would be better to, because we are talking about the FX. If that was the euro dollar move during the Tokyo session, that's their daily candle. In case next day, let's say over the course of Europe and New York, we saw the, let's say, huge drop, the next day for them is some kind of the gap down. Same for Euro guys and same for US guys, all right? Now, I'm not gonna provide more information. Do your own research how some things working based on this type of the approach. All right? Do your homework. It, for some of you, it might be eye-opener. Right? That's my advice. That's, I suggest do this. Check it. If you have some time over the weekend, right? Go and check how it works. Okay? So basically, what we had yesterday, the New York session was like here, right? Am I right? 16. So that was the New York session as a daily candle. And it was the falling day for euro. That was the upper shadow. That was the lower shadow, right? Now, that's right now what we have as today's New York candle, right? So there is a breakdown on the daily chart. Once we consider only yesterday New York price action as a daily candle, right? On the other hand, that was Tuesday price action, right? So it was attempt to go, market was looking for a higher levels, right? So let's have a look what we had on Monday. Okay, so what we've seen this week during the, let's say, New York session, right? What we've seen this week during the New York session, all right, it was the compare to price action after the non-farm payrolls, right? So we had some kind of the insight day. That's the non-farm payroll day, right? With the upper shadows as well over here. That's the upper shadow, right? So what happened? Close with upper shadow as a daily candle for the US guys, right? Inside, attempt to break higher, attempt to with upper shadow on Tuesday, right? Attempt to break higher, we hit more stops, but we did respect post non-farm payrolls high. And with such a rejection and close below yesterday low, right? That's the bearish, just for US guys, meaning we do have an appetite to retest pre-non-farm payrolls low, the New York open on Friday, right? Now, based only on the New York candles, I do know where is the possible demand, pre-non-farm payrolls low, and I do know where is the main supply, right? It's around post non-farm payrolls high, and I know where is the mid of the range, is a Tuesday low, been tested during the European hours. So I think if we are going to see the bounce based on the demand pre non-farm payrolls low, the bounce might hit 50% of this whole Friday New York session range with stop count above today's Tokyo high. Today's Tokyo high and above might provide the liquidity for continuation to the downside, right? We'll see. I'm not saying it's gonna work that way or if it's always working that way, but if you are going to have this stuff included in your trading plan, I do believe you're going to be, sometimes you're going to be better off just to understand, right, the current price action, just to compare sessions by continents. Okay, hopefully that's gonna be useful for you as well. Anyway, let's get back to the market. We had a few minutes because of nothing extraordinary going on, so we had a possibility to discuss few things, right? It's always good to discuss some new things. Maybe some of you are using this type of the approach already, so please share with us your experience. Alright, so euro retest the supply. I don't like the, when we are talking about the supply, I don't like the shadows, I like the bodies, and opposite when we are talking about the demand, I don't like upper shadows. But looks like right now it's working based on the shadows, right? So we close the gap in between the candle we've seen 2 hours ago and right now, so the gap been closed, so we are ready to move down. And as long as we are above, so because what we have, that's also important, and because there is a lot of movement on the market, we can discuss this thing, but no worries, I'm going to repeat this during the upcoming Tuesday webinar, no worries. So what we've seen here in terms of the when we want to approach based on some swings, right? So the latest rally, this flag formation was here, first bounce, second, right? So that's okay, that's the supply, but still we might see some kind of the stop count. So in that case, I think that the stops, in case you are trying to trade the short side, stops should be above 30.04. I'm sorry, 13.04. Tokyo high, right? We might try to this post New York open high. We might try to look for some stops here, right? The next supply is based on yesterday price action during the New York session, and we are talking about the 13.15. But it's overall it's very narrow range on euro dollar right now. There are any questions into what we were discussing a second ago? If yes, so please input into the chat window. If not, we are slowly switching to Nasdaq because we wanna see what is going on here, what's going to be the first 5 minutes trading range, right? Everything we discussed yesterday more or less has happened. The only difference is that I've been expecting this type of the price action over the course of the cash market, right? Unfortunately, didn't happen. The market was very slow. But if you remember what I told you after the first 5 minute range, and then as how long we spend the time inside that range, that it might be simply rangy day, and it was. Then post market there was some bearish activity. I think it might be that it was some kind of the manipulation, right? So I'm going to watch very carefully. I do expect a little bit of higher levels today, at least at the very beginning of the US session, but it might be stop count first. That's what we are going to get within the next 2 minutes. We are going to see where we are. So let's find out where was the yesterday. That was the yesterday training range, and we are trying to, that was the, how we can do that, what color, because yesterday first 5 minutes was quite white, right? Also I pointed out we have to, let's do it that way. Yeah, okay, it's not bad. And this is the possible Tokyo manipulation here. So what we are going to focus on, so that's the manipulation. That's here is a bottom of the first 5 minute trading range over here. So 50%, the lower half of this range, it's in my interest what we are going to see. All right, so let's place this line as well. We are trying to hold it pre-market. Okay, USA, the market officially is open. So we opened it inside yesterday first 5 minutes trading range. 7,525.35 as a possible target based on what we discussed yesterday, meaning that this pre-market high over here as a liquidity pool. We'll see what we are going to get within the first 5-minute trading range. And euro, we discuss it, approaching post NFP low. My dollar Swiss franc long is doing well based on what we discussed during the morning meeting, based on Swiss National Bank rate decision and what was the expectation about the no change view, and they are still ready to intervene on the market if necessary, right? So all in all, right now, at least for now, Swiss franc is doing well. So I'm going to monitor majors on the different monitor. Let's focus on the price action here on Nasdaq. New low, but everything is going on here is going inside the yesterday first 5-minute trading range. Two minutes left. Bulls got the problems here. So if let's wait 1 minute longer. We are going to check. Okay, there is a new low, wider range. Would be good if you can make at least half of what we did yesterday. With a little bit stop count right below and turn around. That might be the long setup. As everyone will try to trade this possible head and shoulders, right? And we are going to break through that head and shoulder. All right, no new low. So let's have a look what we have. I think this stops over here to the downside. They are gonna be under pressure soon. Either we are going to make it that way, right? That what happened during the first something is wrong. What happened here? Oh, come on. What happened here, right? During the first 5 minutes. Jeez, I got the problem, small problem. This MT4. Okay, what happened here, right? So it's working. I've been thinking that we are going to do it that way. No, there is an attempt to break higher. So we are looking for these stops. Pre-market high. So let's measure this move. Yeah, that's gonna be stop hunt over here. And that's what I would love to see, some kind of the stop hunt to the downside. Like this. We'll see. We'll see. Alright, the things might get a little bit more interesting, so we are going to make the second break and we are going to try to summarize a day around the top of the hour, right? Here on the pound Swiss franc, I would like to see some kind of a manipulation to the downside. That's what we discussed. So maybe based on this, it might be a very interesting session. That's what I would like to see here. That might happen. Why not? But not with such a positive sentiment. But we will see what's going on at the first size of the range. So stops are going to be taken out for sure. So let's give them some time. Okay, so it's time for a second break. Charts are going to stay with us. I'll be back around the top of the hour. Enjoy the break. Coffee, tea, non-alcoholic drinks only.
It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Liteforex social trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Welcome back. That's the third and last one part of today's meeting. We are going to summarize first part of the New York session, right? We've got IMF, Lagarde, Eurozone growth has slowed, inflation is low. This requires policy coordination. IMF, Lagarde, Eurozone budget should include stabilization function, convergence and competitiveness is not enough. Okay. Euro is trying to hold above pre-non-farm payrolls low, and that's where we are going to start. Right, we were very close. I'm going to watch the price action towards the London fix. I think that we might see another attempt to break lower, and that would bring us some kind of the three drive pattern here on 15-minute chart. Okay, that might bring us a three-drive pattern. It might be also a possibility of the some kind of the short squeeze coming in. Of course, the range is very narrow on euro dollar, but anyway, I'm going to look for the levels below 1260. Right, I'm going to look because the size of this possible demand based on payrolls range, right over here. It's like 13 pips. I'm looking for the 50% and lower, right? So I'm talking about the levels below 1260, okay? In terms of the pound USD, to be honest with you, 27.50ish yearly open, that's the key here. And we were discussing, and we are going to get back into that. We are discussing during the morning meeting, we were discussing the quarterly candles, all right? So we were trying to visualize. You are more than welcome to visit the Global Liteforex YouTube channel archive section and check our morning meeting, because I do expect some fireworks on the pound during the last 2 weeks of the second quarter, meaning starts next week. And just don't forget guys, we do have UK CPI followed by Bank of England on Thursday. Both events we are going to cover live here on Liteforex Global YouTube channel, right? So I do expect some fireworks. I do expect, if not necessarily with US dollar, but who knows what's going to happen after FOMC. But I do expect some fireworks, at least versus Euro and Swiss franc, if not Canadian dollar and Australian dollar. Especially Aussie is so weak after today's job market data release, right? So there are plenty of comments that we should expect 2 more RBA cuts, right? We are going to get back into that. Let's have a look what we have on the Aussie side. All right, We are trying to test the channel we discussed this morning, but we are trying to test it far lower than what we discussed this morning. So I would expect a little bit higher levels eventually, right? So what I'm going to watch on Aussie is this post Aussie payroll data price action here. Right? In case we are going to retest these levels, right? In case we are going to retest these levels, okay, I might try to trade short side around 69.30, more or less, right? At the same time, if we are going to hit that level, I'm going to watch the price action on pound Aussie as well, right? From the long perspective, okay? That's very, very, very important. Pound this week, rate cut expectations, and we were discussing this low around 68, 65 is going to be under pressure within next few days, and we may try to target 68 level, the zone, demand zone, green level, based on the daily chart, right? That's what we will agree on during the morning meeting. Okay, what is going on the Nasdaq? We hit pre-market high stops, right? So we found some kind of the liquidity. That's what we discussed before the break. We had this 3 drive pattern over here, right? Check your 1 minute chart, and we are retesting, currently we are retesting the first 5 minute trading range. So let's have a look what happened after we broke to the upside. That's the size of the first 5 minutes trading range, right? We didn't quite hit twice. Okay, so it's a stop hunt only. Let's have a look to the downside. Again, we have these levels closer to 7,475. Okay, that's what I'm waiting for. Now, depends on what we are going to see here. There is another 3 drive, including the pre-market high, right? And we might have if I'm not mistaken, yeah. If we are going to do the thing that way, we didn't hit high, but we have 3 drives to the downside. Wow. Okay, let's wait and see. I'm looking for some kind. This is Niagara Falls for me, so I don't want to put my hands trying to catch falling knife here. But I'm going to watch for the price action around cash market low 7,491 and prices below this pre-market lows. We are talking about this possible manipulation phase, so I would expect stops to be found here, 7,488 based on my chart, hitting a little bit lower levels, closer to 7,480, and strong run to the upside. But would be good at some point to have some kind of the consolidation here with, you know, one candle attempt to break lower and strong rejection. Hopefully you got my point. And the oil might be very helpful here, but it is not yet. Especially with this move back below the trend line. What we do right now, we do retest. We failed at the high on oil today. Dollar Swiss franc still trying to do well, especially on hourly, right? $99.55.60 plus 99.55.65. Let's call it that way. Key zone here, then psychological parity and 100.30. That's where the bears may try to attack, right? And daily close above 100.30. We might see some kind of a capitulation. To be honest with you, it might be smart move to try to close or try to rally towards the end of the day, trying to consolidate here, because from the hourly perspective, what do we have from the hourly perspective? Just let me explain you. Overall, we've seen the range, yellow range, right? Now, today morning we saw failure around the yesterday high, failure, right? So the bears took over, right? Now, where was the latest rally yesterday? From where? Here. That was the demand zone, right? Tokyo, first attempt, bounce, a little bit lower levels, another bounce, failure at the high, breakdown. Okay? So right now, if that is supply, I don't like lower shadows. That's the first thing. We discussed it, right? And another thing is that we have another supply based on the price action here. Here, Frankfurt open, London open, right? So we like the opening level and we are below. So that's right now the possible supply here. And as we can see, upper shadow, but there is no strong rejection here, right? We might see higher levels. Don't forget, 7 p.m. CET, 7 p.m. CET, 30 years bond auction result in US. And we are building up a shadow here on euro dollar. So as discussed previously, pre-non-farm payroll lows might be in play. So what I'm going to watch, I'm trying to narrow, right? Because it's hard to, watch 12 instruments and try to focus on each of them. Of course, I'm going to monitor this long dollar Swiss franc position I have already. I'm going to also try to watch pound Swiss franc, all right? So in terms of the British pound versus dollar, just to get the idea what they want to do, in case of the long pound idea, I will switch to pound Swiss franc. Hopefully that's clear, right? Skipping dollar yen today, at least for now. I missed euro pound short opportunity, so probably I'm going to give up here, especially that I'm watching pound with different currencies. Closer towards the end of the session, I might check the Aussie and give it the go around 69.30 when we are talking about the shorts. And the latest, of course, I'm going to have the oil in the background, but I do prefer, if we are going to see rising oil, I do prefer to try to join one of the stock indices. It might be Nasdaq, right? So what we are doing right now here is a attempt to break higher. We took the pre-market stops, market found the liquidity. That's what we discussed before the break, and we are trying to reject this one, right? So let's have a look what we have, and any kind of the 1-to-1 might bring us towards the stops related to the pre-market low here, right? I'm not talking about the overall Thursday low, but because of this manipulation we've seen during the Tokyo session, we discussed it. I wanna see, we had this type of the action pre-market and New Year open. We already reacted into this manipulation. We saw huge rally, but I would like to see something more, right? So watching carefully, being patient, and that's how I see the things. I might try to join in case of dollar Swiss franc closing a little bit higher this hour and breaking higher from this particular combination of the last two early candles. I may try to add, my first target is gonna be around 60, right? Looks like we do have a chance to find some kind of the volatility on FX market finally. I'm sorry, but it's so hot, so after a few sentences I'm thirsty. Whoa, that's bold. Looks like the 30% of the economists who participate in the Wall Street Journal survey see Fed cut in July. So looks like market is trying to put Fed under the pressure from each side, right? Now the question is if really Fed is taking care about such a pressure, right? Or if they are going to follow really macroeconomic developments. Right, if there are any questions, it's a very good moment to ask the question. We are slowly approaching end of our meeting, slowly but surely. Just again, friendly reminder, please visit global YouTube Liteforex channel, visit the archive section. I recorded earlier today crypto market preview. I put few words about the halving. I was trying to compare Litecoin halving within the next 60 days with Bitcoin halving in May 2020. I think it might be useful for some of you. We are doing quite well here. Dollar is getting stronger. I'm holding dollar Swiss franc, so I'm quite happy because of the Swiss National Bank rate decision earlier today. That's something we discussed during the morning meeting. So guys, don't forget, for the most part of the week, Monday to Friday, we do have pre-London Open live market coverages, right? Sometimes depends on the timeline. We might skip Monday or Friday, but usually we have these morning meetings. In terms of the afternoon meetings, we are covering New York Open live from Tuesday to Thursday. This week, you're more than welcome to join me tomorrow, 2:15. I'm going to cover live retail sales out of the US. So at this week, we are going to be live on Friday as well. Now, before we say goodbye, euro dollar is testing pre-non-farm payrolls low. I'm very curious, especially that it's right now right ahead of the London fix. Well, that's gonna be interesting, guys. That's gonna be interesting. Don't be trapped. All right, don't be trapped. Don't try to chase the market. Wait for your opportunity. Wish you great rest of the day. More than welcome. Join me tomorrow 8 a.m. CET, pre-London live market coverage, as well as 2:15 p.m. CET retail sales live market coverage out of the US. Have a great one. See you again tomorrow.
It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Liteforex social trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.